Hello everybody, welcome to this webinar, which is part of the Biotech Start-up Series organized by Biolabs and Servier. This is a regular series of conference or webinars in these distanciated times that both of our organization put together to gather entrepreneurs in biotech. Now I would like to introduce our speakers. Johanna Michielin from CNRS Innovation, the CEO of CNRS Innovation. Brandon Hogstad, who is the Business Development Manager with NYU Langone Health. And Martinson, the Senior Director of Technology Transfer at Tufts University. So if you would, I would like to ask you all to turn your camera so that the audience can actually see you, and to introduce yourself briefly. Maybe a few words on yourself and your how you are now where you are. Johanna?
Yes, thank you, Jean-Jacques, and hello, everyone. So my name is Johanna Michielin, and I'm the CEO of CNRS Innovation since 3 years now. I have a background in intellectual property and business law, and I joined the National Center for Scientific Research, the CNRS, 12 years ago. And I started working with researchers, supporting their submission and management of European research projects. And I also participated in the European Strategy Forum on Research Infrastructures. And then I joined the Tech Transfer Office of CNRS as its CEO.
Thank you, Johanna. Brandon?
Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Hogstad. I'm with NYU Langone Health's Office of Therapeutics Alliances, which is a virtual biotechnology accelerator within NYU. And it's kind of a sister office to the traditional tech transfer office. And we operate under the umbrella of technology venture partnerships. So I joined NYU's Office of Therapeutics Alliances about 3 years ago. I have a PhD in immunology, and I do diligence on, my job is to essentially evaluate the research coming out of NYU and figure out which research can become new potential therapeutics, and we set up de-risking projects to do that. But I also work with the traditional tech transfer office in patenting and licensing any technologies.
Thank you very much. Martin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Martin Sun. I am the Interim Senior Director of the Tufts University Office for Technology Transfer and Industry Collaboration. I have a background in physics and physical sciences from Harvard University, and I've been in the field of technology transfer for about 25 years, first at the Harvard Tech Transfer Office and now at the Tufts University Tech Transfer Office. During my time here at Tufts, I've been involved with helping to commercialize Tufts University technologies from across scientific disciplines, both in partnership with entrepreneurs and startup companies, and as well as larger established companies.
Thank you very much. So when we talk about technology transfer, I just would like to give a few pointers and numbers to set the scene. And those numbers come from the Association of University Technology Manager, the AUTM, which is a reference in terms of TLOs and tech transfer. So out of the 200 organizations that replied to the latest survey, those organizations filed 17,000 patents, a little bit over 17,000 patents in 1 year. They provided nearly 10,000 licenses, and they created 1,000 startups. So that group of technology transfer offices give access basically to $70 billion of public R&D to the private sectors. All I can say is you guys are really busy beavers. and really doing a lot of stuff. So maybe to describe a little bit more your organizations now, what does it encompass? And maybe let's start with Martin, a traditional university, if I may be so bold. And I don't want to be reductive of the Tufts innovative spirit, far from that. So what do you encompass within your realm?
Sure. So Tufts University is perhaps a bit more modestly sized compared to some of its peer institutions in the Boston area. But having said that, it is very well-rounded with strengths in many scientific disciplines and innovation areas. It's comprised of 4 campuses. The campus that most people think of when they think of Tufts is the Medford campus, which is a suburb north of Boston. On the Medford campus, we have our traditional arts and sciences school. All of our undergraduates are housed on the Medford campus. We have our School of Engineering. We have the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy for International Relations. We have the Tisch College of Civic Life. On the Boston campus, we have the many sort of life science related disciplines represented. We have a medical school, dental school, nutrition school, a graduate school of biomedical sciences. Out in Grafton, Mass, which is about an hour west of Boston, we have our veterinary school, which is the one of the best regarded veterinary schools in the US. We actually also have a 4th physical presence in Talloires, France. We have the Tufts European Center, where we conduct special programs and events. And hopefully we'll be able to do more of that again as we arrive at a new normal. So the university also has 2 physical business incubator spaces physically residing at Tufts. In partnership with Biolabs, we have the Tufts Launchpad Biolabs incubator facility, which is a startup incubator facility with wet lab benches and office space situated in the heart of the Boston Tufts campus in downtown Boston. We also have a biotechnology transfer center, which is co-located with our veterinary school, where many companies, small and large, have established a presence and take advantage of the fact that the veterinary campus and the large animal facilities are right there. I'll also mention that we have a very close relationship with the Tufts Medical Center, which is a separate entity and is the university's primary affiliated teaching hospital. And we are also very physically close, right next to each other on the Boston campus.
So that's quite a few activities and campuses. I guess you are dealing with the technology transfer for all of those entities. So thank you very much. Brendan, NYU Langone, describe us a little bit of the landscape there for your research activities.
So NYU Langone is affiliated with the New York University downtown as well. We have a lot of research covering a swath of disciplines, including oncology, neurology, immunology, across the basic biological sciences. And as we do the NYU Technology Venture Partnerships, we do cover all of the NYU campuses, including the downtown campus, which has many chemistry labs and engineering labs, as well as the Tandon School of Energy in Brooklyn, which has a range of engineering and biomedical engineering laboratories there. We do also cover the NYU Abu Dhabi campus, which has some laboratories and some technology coming out of there. So we also have, so as I mentioned, I'm part of the NYU Office of Therapeutics Alliances, the OTA. We are a particular, we're very specific model of biotechnology accelerator in that we actually do the active de-risking of early stage technologies to make them more appealing for potential investors, such as entrepreneurs, pharma companies, biotech companies. So we do actually operate as a virtual biotech company in that way under the umbrella of NYU. And we also did recently open up, we have a partnership with biolabs. There's the NYU Langone biolabs, which is in downtown Manhattan. So similar to Martin's incubator over at Tufts. It's an incubator space that that startup companies can, get a foothold in some physical lab space as they're starting up. So we have here in New York City, we have a pretty up and coming, robust startup ecosystem that entrepreneurs and biotech companies can tap into and really build early stage technologies here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brandon. And yes, you can see a theme here, and Biolabs is indeed active both in New York City, in Boston, and on both shores of the U.S. Johanna, I'm going to turn to you now to describe a little bit the remit of CNRS Innovation.
Yes. CNRS is one of the biggest research organizations in Europe. We have about 11,000 researchers, and they operate in all fields of science through around 1,000 laboratories that we share with French universities and engineering school, but also, even if it's less common, with industrial partners. And so CNRS Innovation is the technology transfer office of CNRS. So we are in charge of the protection of the research results through IP. We also have a funding program in order to increase the TRL. And as for what Brandon just described, in order to make those technologies a little bit more appealing to our industrial partners, or more likely to be at the basis of the creation of a spin-off. And we also then have the activities for sure of commercializing this IP, either to existing companies or through the creation of spin-offs. CNRS doesn't have its own incubator, mainly because our labs are located through whole France. But we have partnerships with a series of incubators, investors, and also advisors that they can help our spin-offs to structure properly and to reach the market in the best conditions.
Thank you very much, Johanna. So somewhat similar activities for all of you, but different playgrounds, if I may say so. And when we look at how you may interact with young companies, I first would like to put myself in the shoes of an entrepreneur again, and it's a busy life. It's a complicated life of any biotech or deep tech company, whatever the field may be, actually. Got to develop the technology to the next proof of concept so that can progress the company. We have to organize the team, hire the right people. We have got to raise money. And in our conversations together, it became clear that you think that at the same time, the companies still need to expand their technology horizon to look for additional technologies. So we'll get into how and the mechanics of it all, but maybe first, why, and Johanna, can I challenge you with that? And why do you think, as an entrepreneur, I need to come and talk to you?
Well, I think it's important for, I would say, two main reasons. First of all, you and your company are into an increasing international competition, and it makes it mandatory to keep up with the latest developments. This is why you might want to keep on with R&D programs that are obviously deeply connected with your project, but which are maybe a little bit more fundamental than your actually current product developments. The second reason I see, and it's especially true for biotech companies, is that the value of your company relies not only but a lot on the value of your IP. And as time goes, your patent portfolio ages, and it's important to renew it and strengthen it. For those two reasons, interaction with Technology Transfer Office can be really useful in order to identify maybe research groups that you can co-develop new results with, or by getting a license on existing patents that can strengthen your patent portfolio value.
So a friend of mine, CEO I was talking to on this subject, mentioned that he basically kept about 20% of his R&D money spirited away and did not really report to the board what he was doing with that kind of secret fund. Good idea, bad idea. Do you recommend everybody does keep some money for, I would say, not mainstream R&D, but to just reinforce kind of greenfield ideas or patent acquisitions with board approval, maybe?
Well, I mean, I would say, I think it's always good to let your board know what is it exactly that you're doing, and especially in research programs, because it's basically the strategic future of your company that you're trying to foresee there. But I think it is a good idea to have a part of your R&D budget which is targeted on, I wouldn't say it's side projects. I would say the best would be that it's more fundamental and more risky projects. You don't know if those projects are going to turn into an actual product for your company later on, but so it's in that way that it's maybe a bit risky, but with this particular part of your R&D budget, you're actually addressing the future. And I think for a company, it's always good to, for sure, take care of your short and midterm strategy, but you also need to address the long-term strategy. And this would actually, I think, look good to your board.
Okay, so we need to refresh the portfolio and make sure that the value of our IP keeps growing and have a broader portfolio. Brandon, Martin, how can I find the right technologies coming from your spots? There are lots of patents out there. I mentioned, I forget how many thousands, but I just want one, the right one.
Well, you can go, Martin.
Oh, sure, thanks. Pretty much every research institution now has a direct online presence, their own website, and many institutions have technologies developed at their institution available for licensing, displayed hopefully in a searchable capacity directly on their own web presences. There are obviously other avenues to be able to take advantage of from the tech transfer office perspective. We try to make technologies available for commercialization searchable and findable through any and all avenues possible. I would like to certainly point out one very useful such avenue, which would be the Autumn Innovation Marketplace, or the AIM platform. And in full disclosure, I'll say that I'm the chair of the AIM committee for Autumn. But it is a portal site that Autumn, the association that was previously referenced, that runs the annual licensing activity survey. A portal site that was created to be able to help all member institutions upload technologies available for licensing and commercialization to that platform, so that as a seeker of technologies, you can go to the platform and have in one location the ability to search and hopefully find opportunities coming from hundreds of institutions in the US and even beyond the US. There are a number of sort of portal sites and platform sites like that certainly we can provide links and references to.
Brandon, other ideas on?
In addition to what Martin was saying about online directories, I think there's nothing that can beat a good old conversation with your local business development managers at the at a university tech transfer office. The directors and the managers of the technology offices, part of our role is to have relationships with all of the university professors, and for us to keep our fingers on the pulse of the research that's going on at the universities that we cover. So, oftentimes, like, part of my daily job is speaking with the professors, speaking with the students, going to poster sessions, and really keeping tabs on everything that's going on. So, talking to us is a great way to, for us to learn about what you're interested in, what types of technologies, what stage you're interested in, and we can really tailor fit the conversation to find technologies that you might be interested in. So we can kind of curate the process for you in that way. So in addition to online searching, you can just talk to us, and we can build that conversation, and oftentimes developing an ongoing relationship between a tech transfer officer and a company can lead, maybe the first conversation doesn't lead to that spark of, wow, this is the perfect technology. But if you check in regularly, new technologies are always coming up into, onto our portfolio and into our pipelines. So regular conversations saying, hey, Brandon, what do you have? Is there anything new and interesting that you have that's, target discovery, or a validated target, or chemical matter in, oncology or in immunology? And then, we can just get the conversation going.
Johanna, would you recommend to do that as well? And do people call you with those kind of questions?
Yes, of course. I think this is for sure the kind of basics you need to do on a regular basis, and it's really much easier if you're in an environment that allows that, on a campus or in an incubator that is allowing those kind of interactions at the coffee machine, actually. Mm-hmm. But there is also another kind of interaction that you can have, not on such a regular basis, but maybe with a consultant or professionals that are going to help you to make a diagnosis of your IP portfolio, and on what side it could get stronger, because it's not just about having as many patents as you could afford, more or less. It's also to have a patent portfolio that with bricks that really fit together. And this is actually part also of the job of the TTOs, to give you advice on that, looking at your portfolio and saying, I think there is one brick missing there, and maybe I can help you find it or develop it if it doesn't exist yet. But if you don't talk about this with a TTO, you can also talk about this with consultants. There are lots of them that offer those kind of services. And for sure, you don't do this every month, but once every 1 or 2 years, it's important to ask yourself, what is the value of my patent portfolio? Is it correctly protected? And compare yourself with the competition on that as well.
So just a message here to the audience. We welcome the questions. We have received 2 questions now, and please keep them coming. We'll get to those questions in just 1 minute. I'd like to kind of shift gear a little bit now and go towards the actual, let's get into this conversation about licensing IP from you guys. So I'm always in the mindset, my company is certainly not a Google, it's not a Servier or a Sanofi, and I will have to convince you maybe that my company is actually a good fit for this patent that you own, and I have to convince you. What will you ask me If I'm trying to come to you and say, well, you have this great checkpoint inhibitor, and please give it to me. I want it. All of you.
I guess I can comment first, and then Johanna and Martin can build upon anything. I know that for NYU, we really are concerned about finding the best partner for our technologies, because our interest is, we are a nonprofit organization and we are mission driven. And at the end of the day, our goal is to get our research to be translated into commercialized therapeutics and medical devices. And actually successfully commercialized technologies. So we are very concerned about finding the best partners that will actually develop the technologies and that have the resources. So we will ask questions that will we will inquire about what resources you have, what are your sources of funding, what's your history of who is in your organization. What past successes has your group had, or the individuals in your group, and any evidence of success or evidence of the proper resources and the proper skill sets, including if you are a company that has historically only dealt with small molecules and we're licensing you a biologic, we would want some reassurance that you have the capacities to develop biologics, whether that's consultants or the right contract research organizations. We want to see a work plan and evidence that you're putting in thought and intention to develop, rather than just acquiring a patent that you will put on a shelf to presumably add value to a company. We're less concerned about adding value to a company and more concerned about actually developing the technologies. So these are the kinds of questions that we'll generally ask.
Thank you.
I'll just add as well that echoing Brandon's comments, that it is absolutely important to find the right best partner. However, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a large established company with the experience, many years of experience built to demonstrate that you've already done this. Many of the technology opportunities coming out of universities are very early stage in nature. And while many might fit very well in a pipeline for a biotech or a pharma company, some require additional dedicated R&D, maybe a focused effort that perhaps only an entrepreneur or a startup company can offer. And so I think part of finding the best and right partner is on both sides being able to demonstrate a flexibility to be able to ensure that perhaps on day one, you don't have all of the resources at hand to be able to take a technology through to commercialization, but hopefully you'll have a business plan and strategy in mind that can help you get there. And from our perspective as a technology transfer office, we don't have to go straight to a traditional commercial exclusive license agreement with all of the financial and diligence obligations up front. We can start more flexibly, perhaps provide a limited term option for the parties to get to know each other better, for the commercializing entity to be able to start getting some of the pieces in place to demonstrate to the tech transfer office that it is working towards the ability to become a good, best fit commercial licensee.
So a question for your own objectives. How are your organizations being measured? How are your performance measured? Are you trying to get a lot of money out of me? Is that the most important thing? Or one more deal is good? What are the key metrics that you will be measured on?
I can start for CNRS, for example. As Brandon said, our main goal is to have our technologies turn into products that are available on the market and that are useful for society and economy. And so my KPIs are not based on the amount of money we will get back on royalties. It is for the KPIs are more how many of the research, the technologies that are coming out of our labs are being transferred to companies and made available to the society. So for sure, the more license we sign, the better. But it's not just about signing the license. As Brandon and Martin said, it's also about that after signing this license, the developments continue, that the project is not put on a shelf and abandoned, meaning our investments in research was right and is being pursued by our partners. So these are for us the keys in our evaluation is how much of our research results are actually reaching the market.
So we have a lot of questions that are coming in, and I thank you all for that. I would like to remind you that there is going to be a networking session after the webinar when you can interact directly. So if you have direct questions for any of our speakers, you should be able, we hope to have you talk to them directly and potentially exchange. There are several questions on company formation and how you help on that, but maybe a last one on the terms again that might be important. So I think Martin, you alluded to that, doesn't have necessarily to be exclusive licenses. Do you guys have minimum royalty rates, or how can, again, what can I expect financially from a conversation with any of you?
The way that we like to look at it is that for any given technology commercialization opportunity, with a sense for what industry it would be useful for, the potential value of that opportunity in the marketplace, given what is currently existing in the marketplace. We try to develop an overall sense for the value of the opportunity. And again, we're quite flexible in trying to fairly have that value reflected in a license relationship with the company. All that to say that we don't have an absolute minimum royalty requirement or very specific floors or ceilings for any financial term, really. We do have a good sense for what are considered to be sort of industry norms in terms of royalty rates and fees and et cetera. But we have a number of financial considerations that we can discuss. And depending on, again, the early stage nature of your venture or how far along you are, certain financial considerations might be easier to offer than others. For example, for a startup company, equity is probably an important consideration that the company would like to provide an offer. And so we're willing to accept that and see how that might contribute to the overall value that we seek and how it might be reflected in differing terms that we may negotiate in other parts of the license.
So an interesting question that came in, and I'm sure people will relate. It feels like you are overworked and understaffed. I want my conversation with you to be priority. How can I stand out?
I would say if you reach out to any of us, if you're able to tell us briefly what your company is interested in, and what stages of technologies you're interested in, that will help us assess and prioritize and triage more quickly. Because if somebody just says, "Hey, we're interested in licensing technologies, what do you have?" There's a more of a barrier to understanding how we can actually work with you. So the more information you can provide in terms of what you're looking for when you reach out to us, the more we'll be able to look at your, when you contact us, we'll be able to look at your situation and get something in motion.
We have a couple of questions with regards to company creation or ensuring that the technology flows out into a company, not necessarily through a straight license. Do you get involved in helping select the team around a project to facilitate a spin out? How do you manage the transition or console a scientist who may be a very good scientist and may not be the best CEO? Johanna.
We get involved in building up the team of a spin-off when it's necessary and needed. Sometimes, for sure, I mean, the researcher, the inventor of the technology is always at the basis of the creation of this startup because, as Martin said, the results are still very early stage and the involvement of the inventors is key in the next stages of the development. But then for sure, other types of profiles are going to be necessary to make it a success. And either the researcher happened by its own network to find the right profile, and we agree with that, and then all good. Or either we help him find the right co-founder. And for that, I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't have any magical recipe. We use our own network, we use events, we use posting offers online, we use every canal that we can find because it's actually a very difficult topic. It's very difficult to have the perfect match in terms of capabilities and in terms of personality as well, because you're gonna start an adventure that is going to be very time and emotion consuming, and the fit between the partners is actually key.
Jean-Jacques, I also want to add to everything that Johanna said, the notion of the inventors being, whether or not the inventors are brought into the company or whether or not they are, suitable to be either a CEO or a CSO. There are other options in terms of incorporating the inventors, because oftentimes it will be in the best interests of of the licensees to have the involvement of the inventors ongoing. So rather than keeping a narrow mind of, okay, they must be somehow on the executive board or executive the C-suite. Oftentimes we set up agreements where the inventors are some kind of they continue on with some kind of a consulting agreement. So in addition to just licensing and having, we do have professors that become entrepreneurs and become CSOs and become CEOs, but not, many of our professors want to continue being scientists, but also care about their science being commercialized. So they will, we will set up agreements where they will be consultants. And also one more additional thought is that licensing is not the only option. So, people can come to a tech transfer office and say, okay, we want to license this or that, but patents aren't the only thing. And you don't, even doing an option where you say, okay, we're going to have this option period where if we reach a milestone, then we can license. You could also do sponsored research agreements where where you can enter into a collaboration and provide either certain kind of funding, reagents, or other resources, and that sponsored research could also have a built-in option or first right of refusal for any inventions associated with that. So there's many different ways to create a partnership with academia, not just licensing.
Brandon, thank you very much for that reminder, because that's a whole another set of relationships that all of you are managing, and we didn't have time to cover. Maybe one reminder to all the attendees: we are going to reconvene very shortly to a networking session where you will have an occasion to talk in small groups to each of the panelists. There are many questions that have come in, and we're sorry that we cannot take them all. They were all very interesting, so I thank you very much for those interesting questions. I don't want to go over long, so we are already overshooting the time that was allotted to the webinar. So I would like at this stage to really thank all of our panelists for very, very interesting comments and really workable comments. And I'm sure that you will have more questions in the breakout sessions in talking with individual people. So thank you all for participating. We look forward to seeing you all again, maybe soon in the next webinar that we will organize of the Biotech Startup Series. Again, thank you, and see you very soon, I hope, in the networking session. Bye-bye.